Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Roladai.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, thank you. And I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last two meetings, the regular meeting of May 15th and the special meeting on May 22nd.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Bruley. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Getzman. Were there any corrections? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Mr. Roladai.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Are there any commendations or communications?
None tonight.
And first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. Nice looking group this evening on this beautiful evening. So thank you for coming. And I don't believe Ellen's here or April. So we do have one who has requested public participation. That's Melody Tickle.
Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you to Superintendent Cedar and the board members for the time and the consideration you've given to our concerns as we first presented them to you in the meetings on both April 17th and April 28th. We're resubmitting for your review a copy of the Citizen's Guide to U.S. Federal Law on Obscenity, as well as an attached list of books which our group has personally reviewed and found to be in violation of said law. For that reason, we are requesting these books be removed from the Mount Vernon Middle School Library. We are also submitting to you a list of fictional books that are currently in the middle school library and are age inappropriate. This evaluation is in accordance with the determinations listed on the online card catalog Fetch used by the Mount Vernon City School Systems for library books purchased. We would like these selections removed for age inappropriateness based on the credibility of the Fetch system that you are using. Finally, the Knox County Citizens for School Accountability believe that providing appropriate literature for our children is both the responsibility of the public system making these selections and the parent guardians of the children themselves. But we also realize that staffing and time restrictions of library employees make it difficult to keep up with the vast volume of new books coming monthly into the system. For that reason, we're requesting that all future books be considered for purchase and distribution to our children through the school library be posted or otherwise made available to the public for their review on a monthly basis. This allows for community input and invites transparent collaboration between the public school system and the constituent tax base whose member it is to serve. This is from our Knox County Citizens for School Accountability. And in your packet that was given to you, we have the Citizen's Guide to the Federal Law on Obscenity, so that you have that on your list. We also have a book of lists that are in violation of federal law for obscene matters as established by the U.S. Supreme Court. And there is also the list of almost 100 books that are age inappropriate because they are grades 9 to 12 that are in the 5th grade classrooms. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will follow up on this.
Mr. Cedar, here is the forms on those books, on those 5 books.
Okay, and I will turn it over to you. We do have some items for board approval. We have 2 contracts, the superintendent's contract to be renewed and the treasurer's contract. And I guess there's no problem with approving this a few minutes before we the loss of our current treasurer. I thought about that. We're doing this in reverse, actually. So I would entertain a motion to approve those 2 contracts.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. And with great regret, we are going to probably approve this, the first one. And if you will And I don't mean regret that we're hiring. I know our current treasurer. we're very happy that we're hiring Mrs. Forney back. So if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Wow, talk about tongue-tied. Okay, additions and deletions, and I'll turn that over to you.
We do. It's that time of the year where we get folks who leave for various reasons. Generally, they live closer to home, or we get some late-minute hires. And so even since our meeting on Thursday in our board preview, we've had some additions to put in here. So you'll see resignation, substitute teacher contract, a supplemental contract, some summer school work, and then one resignation, which unfortunately we're accepting that'll be part of the certificated section. So those sections predominantly fall in the kind of employment section of of our agenda tonight, but those are going to be your additions.
Okay, thank you. And your report?
All right, I don't have a lot to report. I did want to share a brief kind of an update. Just shortly ago, we had a really wonderful graduation where we had 270 graduates strong kind of go across the class of 2023. And of course, that was right here in Energy Fieldhouse. We put out 3,000 chairs, and all 3,000 chairs were pretty full. And you were there, so you remember. And by 2 o'clock, they were lined up well outside the stadium to get in. The nice part was we didn't have to worry about rain, and the temperature inside when we started was 65. When we ended, I think it was about 75. But it's nice to be able to have it inside in the right way. Our graduates getting ready to kind of cross the street to come on into the building. And then, of course, we kind of process right down through the middle. So a few pictures of our graduates kind of finding their seats. And, of course, a number of them, very fashionably dressed with some academic cords, which were nice. Thought I'd throw that one in there just as a fun little...
Mr. Jack. Yes.
That kind of shows you just kind of a view of the graduates with quite frankly, all the folks in the background. Of course, we've got this view. I liked it just because the flag was sitting there pretty high. That's a piece we get a lot of compliments when people who haven't been here before, after they look around the track and then they see the flag, and very appreciative of that. We did have one honoring seat, and I know you all recall that, and so we do that. Presentation of the colors, which is always kind of special, and Mr. Coughlin's kind of remarks. We had the class gift that was presented, and for some of you who, I think you were able to hear that day, but in our gymnasium, we have our flag kind of tucked in a corner because there just isn't a place to put it. The senior class as well as the junior class are going to help purchase one of the ones that you put like in a big screen, and it kind of comes down for the games, and then it will go up, and be hidden out of the way. But what'll be nice is that it can just be front and center court, anything that we have, as opposed to, some people would look way over there in the corner to see it. So it was a very nice class gift. Sang the alma mater, and again, one of my more favorite songs, which is, I forget the title, but it's about minutes, and there you go. And then we're getting ready to kind of the graduation kind of part of it, and so obviously that young lady's pretty excited, very happy. A couple board members happy for this young man, and there you go, it's another one. That was kind of a neat moment because that's the Fireballs, and so his dad's a teacher and his son's a senior, and to be able to share that moment is pretty special. Just a couple other really kind of neat things there. So I thought I'd just show some pictures of graduation since we don't have a lot going on, and of course the ceremonial kind of toss. I don't know how they find their caps afterwards. They seem to
grab a cap.
They grab a cap and go, I suppose, right? I did want to give you a quick update. So the YMC Summer Adventure Camp As you know, we partner with the YMCA this year because of our facilities we've been blessed with. And a little bit with the Mount Vernon City with Hiawatha Park. And so they're now coming here every day, beginning at 8 o'clock. Camp starts at 9. They start at the middle school. They will spend about half a day there doing their activities. And then they'll use our transportation, and we transport them out to various sites. And of course, everybody wonders, how's that going to work? I mean, the first time for everything. And so week 1, the theme was grossology. So they learned about how to write and read, about touch, smell, and eat gross things. The campers were able to go to the library. They got to swim at Hiawatha, see a magician at the YMCA. They learned about the core values of honesty, respect, responsibility, caring, and faith. Now, those are obviously the YMCA's tenets, and certainly ones that I am appreciative of as well. They even earned a dance party at the end of the week because 100% of the kids said thank you as they went through the lunch line and different things like that. So it was really neat to see that first week get started. And so Emily Vonk, who is the director of their outreach program or summer camps, she sent me a nice email, and these are her quotes. I want to send a quick note to give you all an update on the kickoff of the adventure camp. Wow is the best way to start. My heart is so full, and I'm beyond grateful for the partnership with Mount Vernon City Schools as well as the city of Mount Vernon. You are all a crucial part. To your bus crew and lunch crew, because we use our summer lunch program for those kids, and of course we're using our bus transportation to help. You have a great staff. I cannot say enough great things about these people. This has made a huge difference on the flow of camp, and each person we have interacted with in these departments has been fantastic. And finally, it says the middle school location has exceeded our expectation. Access to classrooms is such an added benefit and allowed us to do so much more at camp. So I thought that would be interesting for you to kind of see just in an update. It is 8 weeks. We've provided scholarships for 2 students for every elementary for all 8 weeks, in other words. So that's quite a number of opportunities and spots for kids to get some extra reading, writing, and just to experience camp that they may not normally experience.
How many students are there participating?
Right now, they're serving 48. I think the hope is that maybe it can grow in future years. Obviously, staff would have to grow. But 12 of those right now are our students every week. So you take 12 times 8, and that's just how many students we've given a scholarship to for this added kind of an experience. So that's my quick update. Don't have any items for recommendation in our superintendent's report for tonight. Under curriculum instruction, staff development, and planning, we just have one item for information, and I don't know if you wanted to I think it was shared with the board to get a chance to take a look at that for your reading, unless you wanted to mention anything specific, Dr. Bennett.
Are you talking about the library?
The student liaison report.
Okay, I have, so mine must not have updated. I have the July board meeting change.
Oh, you know what I did? I'm sorry. I kind of jumped right past that. So I did have one other item for information. We still have no items for board approval in this section. Our meeting is July 4th. It's tentatively scheduled for that date, and we moved it to the 4th Monday, I think because of some vacation time. Unfortunately, we've got one board member who the 24th isn't going to work. We can still have it there, or if it's amenable, we could do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week. And so I don't know what the board's pleasure would be relative to that, if the 25th, 26th, or 27th is available.
Did everyone check their calendars with the 25th work?
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 25th?
No,
No.
that's also Fair Week. So we're wrapped up in
Oh, it is
Fair.
Fair Week?
It is Fair Week.
So would the 24th have been okay?
I could make the 24th or the 26th, but Tuesday, Thursday, 25th and 27th, I'm,
So this 26th on a Wednesday is
that is a
open?
Wednesday.
How's that for You?
That would, I can make that work. Anybody else have a problem with that? Okay.
Any of those.
Are you riding in the Crash Up Derby that night?
I thought about it. I've decided to forego that this
Okay.
So we're
26th is
changing
fine
it to
for
the
me.
26.
26th,
Thank you, sorry about that.
the same time at 6 p.m.
Same time, I think.
And do we need to actually vote on that?
I think we just need, you don't think you
You
need to
just need
vote
to
on it. I
advertise
just need to
it.
make sure we do a public notice that it'll be Wednesday, the 26th
So at 6.
at 6.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I got ahead of myself there. So now we'll go down to curriculum instruction and staff development and.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly mention, the first success item is an article about White House, Texas, and they have 20 different languages spoken in their district. So in order to deal with that and to help parents communicate, they've come up with Time Kettle earbuds, and they use a Bluetooth with an iOS device, and it translates the 2 languages. And they have a video, if you click on that, you don't need to right now, but if board members are interested, and it shows the principal communicating with a Vietnamese woman, and there's a pause while it's translated, and then she hears it in her language, and then she speaks back into the device, and he hears it back in English. So there's a pause there, but it's just incredible that they have this. And it also provides a written transcript in both languages to keep track of what's going on. So I thought that was a pretty neat experience. I don't know the cost. They didn't mention the cost, of course, but anyway, they do have that available. And it sounds like their district really needs it in 20 different languages. It would be difficult to find someone to translate in 20 languages. The second article is about chronic absenteeism and attendance issues, and it points out that attendance problems absenteeism has doubled since 2021 and COVID, and that the future education report lays out more than 24 strategies to deal with attendance, and there are 3 tiers: and universal prevention, early intervention. If you have 10 to 19% of the days missed by individuals, that would be considered early intervention. And then intensive intervention is if it's more than 20% of the academic year, which sounds like a huge amount. So you can read what those strategies are. And then the universal approaches schools. They believe that it improves family engagement. These are some of the suggestions. Family engagement, student-teacher relationships, provide access to health care and free school meals and telehealth. Those are some things that address issues that might keep children at home. And then they also mentioned mentoring, tutoring, address mental health issues, and then rethink truancy policies. So those were some of the things that they came up with that are universal approaches. Then the third article is about the full futures, and this was kind of a neat article about using it's called 100 Gardens, and they want to come into the schools and teach the children to grow things and learn about sustainability and to promote food accessibility. And then one day a week, I think it's every Friday, they make available to the community, and you don't even have to have a child in school, that they can come for free food from the gardens. And they're mobile farmers who are currently bringing free food every Friday in the community, so that was pretty neat. And it also is teaching the students to learn to bake and cook and to garden. That's part of their, they have an aquaponics lab and a greenhouse. And they're hoping to build greenhouses at each of their schools and not just the 3 that they currently have. The 5th article is on activities to spark students' curiosity in the classroom. And this was pretty interesting about inquisitive hooks that you can use and intellectual puzzles to capture students' attention at the start of a lesson. And then the research article is on fatigue versus tiredness and how anxiety can cause fatigue, which is different than tiredness. They pointed out, and I guess I didn't really understand that before, but they point out that tiredness, you can get extra sleep and get over tiredness. Fatigue is not like that. Extra sleep doesn't address fatigue because it's caused from prolonged physical, mental, and emotional strain. And they talk about some of the problems with fatigue of our students and due to increased stress and lowered motivation. So all interesting articles, so hope you have a chance to look at some of those. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but the two that interested me particularly were the using Yale's mood meter in math.
Oh, right.
Mine would have been highest anxiety if I had a chance to put that on my mood meter. And then I particularly like the strategies for teaching poetry through music, murals, and more. I think our children can learn so much about expressing themselves and their experiences through those things. So I think our music teachers and art teachers do a pretty good job of that. But
They do.
You're not biased in that.
not a bit. Thank you.
We have no items in this section for board approval tonight, so we'll move on to fiscal services.
Well, I'm probably going to talk a little more than I want to, but I want to inform the board specifically about this first thing. We're looking at our insurance renewal, which is probably pretty relevant to Tim and his day-to-day life. And we're looking at a 13% increase. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can get to just kind of brass tacks.
Should I have left it bigger or smaller?
So that's what came back. We do shop this every year. We have a broker who takes it out. There's not many people, companies I should say, that are interested in insuring school districts. So here's what I am proposing to you as a board. I have already told them that I think we will be raising some deductibles to lower this a bit. So specifically, and this is an item for information, but I still want you guys as a board to weigh in. Specifically, I'm going to take the property from $2,500 to $5,000 deductible. I'm going to increase our auto from $500 to $1,000. And we, believe it or not, have a law enforcement legal deductible, which I want to raise from $2,500 to $5,000, which will knock about $5,000 off of that.
Are those the figures that you have in bold? There were some in bold, and I wondered why they were in bold.
Back up here a little bit. Like these numbers here?
Are those the ones that you changed, or was there a reason, another reason why they were?
I don't know why
Looks
those
like
are.
all the deductibles.
Same, yeah.
So it might have just been
So
that.
yeah, they were recommending some areas that they thought might be okay to change. I didn't take all their recommendations. I haven't taken any of them yet. I want to do those. But if it was just a decision I was going to make, I would certainly raise those three areas. And there's a couple reasons for the stark increase. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you with information, but I want you to be informed. Obviously, the market is just, inflation is higher. But, and this is not our fault, but if you look at over the past 3 years, we had an almost $100,000 claim for wind damage when the stadium pole fell over. We had another windstorm in that same year it was only $4,000 worth of damage. We have an open case right now. We had lightning damage of almost 10 grand in 21, and we had another windstorm in 22, which was $58,000. So we've had some significant claims. You couple that with, and this is funny to say, but our property has raised in its assessment value of 6%. Well, we're not going to sell any property, so that's not really a benefit to us. But the insurers look at it and go, well, if something happened, God forbid, we got to pay more to replace it. So all of those things factor into why you see it going from 182 to 206. I would recommend that we do those three things and lower it by, I think it's $4,900. No, I'm sorry, it's $4,537 if you would be interested in those recommendations that I just.
Could you repeat the areas?
Yeah, which ones were they again?
Increase our property deductible from $2,500 to $5,000. And it can go higher, but I want to kind of try to balance the risk and reward.
Right.
Auto from $500 to $1,000, I think that's a
That makes sense.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
The law enforcement legal from $2,500 to $5,000 deductible. I think those three we should definitely do. The other ones, I'm not real excited about doing. But
Gary, does this reflect what you're just recommending, or would it be 4,000 less than this 206?
it would be 4,000 less than that if we take the three that I just recommended to the board. So
Gallagher is our,
they're our broker. This would still be Wright Specialty Insurance.
Okay.
We had another company that's new to Ohio interested. I think it's CM something, but they just, I don't think they have the staff at this point.
there yet.
Yes, so I think next year it'll be a more competitive bidding process, but this is where we are.
You said that was right. Like
Well, we do have
WRI.
an insurance expert on our board, so
Well, I mean, that's the best way to help with the premium, be higher deductibles. And I mean, that's not really that much more.
no, it
Really.
isn't.
I mean, definitely on the auto from 500 to 1,000, I'd say that should be given.
If I could do, and I don't think, I wouldn't recommend this, but as a board, you can do what you want. The property, we can take it up to 10 and save another $1,900. But 10,000 is a lot of money if you have a windstorm or something as a
Well, it's
deductible,
gonna
so.
take out anything small for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
so.
And there are times when we have something happen, like, do we turn that in as a claim or do we not?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Because every time you turn in a claim, they're going to find a way to.
It comes back. You know, unfortunately, publicly, we've had some catalytic converters get stolen. We didn't turn those things in. We just replaced them. You know, and now we've made some different arrangements for some of our district vehicles to keep them safer, but those are the things that we weigh on a day, not day to day, but when these things come up, you know, normally he and I'll talk and I don't think we should submit this, and if he's on board, then we don't, and we just pay for it and move on. So I definitely recommend those three changes. If you guys want to contact me tomorrow, or if you have any other questions about it, we just have to do something by the end of the month. So that's when our current policy runs
So
out.
you're just asking for input.
Yeah,
at
it
this
doesn't
point.
require action by the board. I can sign off on it, but I want you guys, obviously.
I would concur that
It sounds like you've made a good
proceed with it,
decision.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate it. We can move on to the financial report. Feel free to, if you want to jump back to anything, to let me know. Continue to see some robust investment dollars, which I'm happy. Obviously, that is spread out amongst all of our accounts, so we're seeing investment dollars go into our health insurance, self-insurance fund, our general fund. So every account that makes money, it gets put in that specific account. In preview, you know, I was asked about some of these percentages. Keep in mind, this report is for the end of May. So by the end of, when June closes, I expect most of these to be really close to 100. You look at something like homestead rollback is over 100% at this point. It's based off the forecast. What'll happen sometimes in my world is you'll get some people who were delinquent on taxes and they make it up, and then you get more than 100%, which we're happy to have it. I don't know where we'll end up on the line 1.06. That one's interesting. That involves fees and a whole lot of other things, and we'll see at the end of the month. But other than that, it's pretty standard. So if there's no questions on that, we can continue moving. Temporary appropriations, as you know, as a board, we can't spend any money unless you've given us permission to do so. And since the fiscal year closes at the end of this month, we need your permission. So I'm sure Judy will obviously bring the final appropriations to you probably in September, but this will get us started for the new fiscal year.
Okay.
That's really it, and I can do my reading now or afterwards, up to the board.
Why don't you go ahead?
So we have two memory books. We have a book called Escape to Play. For the brother of Tiffany Fireball, Steve Chateau, I apologize if I'm getting that name wrong, donated to East Chateau, donated to East Elementary. And then we have a book in memory of Brad Harris, who's the father of Lindsay Stotts. For Like a Girl, How to Dream Big and Believe in Yourself, donated to the Twin Oak Elementary. I've stated this many times, but I think it's pretty cool what the board does in memory of these folks that we've lost. So appreciate that from the board and this community.
That was Ruth Cassidy's idea many years ago. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Woodruff.
I'll second.
Mr. Hickman. Were there any questions? And please get your comments or suggestions to Gary. Okay, if you call the roll, please.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Ms. Regola Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried, thank you. And Mr. Goulet?
Thank you.
Legislative lead?
SB 94 was unanimously passed, and this bill requires the State Occupational License Agency to accept electronic license applications, which I thought they always had, but entering the 21st century. Then the main concern is HB 33, the biennial budget for fiscal years 2024 to 2025. This was accepted by the Senate Finance Committee with several major changes. This version decreases funding for our traditional K through 12 schools. Our great public schools serve more than 80% of Ohio's students, and the decrease would be approximately $542 million over the next 2 years. It increases private school vouchers. Private school vouchers funds less than 10% of Ohio's students. The Senate version also modified the state and local capacity calculations by eliminating per pupil median federal gross income. This actually forces a reduction in the state funding while increasing the local share. It removes funding to determine the needs of economically disadvantaged children. It restores mandatory retention of the 3rd grade reading guarantee. It restructures the Ohio Department of Education and drastically changes the role of our state's Board of Education. It removes the provision for ODE to provide reimbursements for free breakfast and lunch for children eligible for reduced meal cost. I ask that everyone please contact our state senator, Andrew Brenner, sharing your objections to this Senate version of the biennial budget. This budget, for me, essentially requires our great public schools to do more with less and increases the burden on our local taxpayers. And that's basically the main focus, I think, of everyone right now in education. And if you have any other questions or concerns, I did contact Senator Brenner actually the week prior to them accepting this and told him not to accept any changes. But I haven't heard back from anyone at this State House. Did anyone have any questions or comments?
Just
Frustration.
Very frustrated and disappointed.
We should certainly know by the end of June, because that's when it has to be done. So
Yeah.
once the Senate finally makes their testimony done, they'll have to get a concurrent committees together to try to match the governors, the House, and the Senates, and
I'll cross our fingers.
we'll know what'll happen after that. So, okay, thank you, Mary. We have just a few items for board improvement in this section. Facility use request for a couple groups. Thrive Kids is kind of a running program. They're doing it through the summer. So they'll be doing a little track and field. And the Pickaway County ESC, they're going to be using our bus garage to do bus driver training. So anybody that wants to train locally, they like our facility and they're going to allow us to do that. We do have a resolution here, number 2, to continue with some paving projects. We had a number of those bid for a paving contract, and so we welcome that piece there. Item 3 is a little bit of an interesting item. We're going back and we're rejecting the roofing bids. We were really concerned that the roofing bids weren't specific enough, and we tried to write those bids ourselves, realizing that, you know, as much as we don't want to have to pay architectural fees and try to save some funds, there's a reason why you do that in certain instances, and we just didn't feel comfortable. And I guess what alarmed us was we had bids that were here, and we had one way down here, and usually it's lowest best when you go through the bid process. And so we just didn't feel like it was defined and spelled out enough. I think our bid process might have been a couple pages where an architect will be 34 pages and be very much specific. You pay for that, of course, but we need to protect ourselves and the projects that we do. So we're going back to the drawing board on that one and decided to reject those bids. And then finally, the station break, again, if something catastrophic would happen, we would certainly lend a hand, let them use our facilities to help out in that situation. So those 4 items for board approval.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Dressman. Are there any questions? I did have a question about postponing the roofing projects. Is that going to be a problem then to get those done before school, or is that?
Probably. Obviously, one of those is the central office. And then depending on what kind of work can be done on the East Elementary and what section, they would have to kind of prioritize that out. So we've been in contact with the architect to see if they can't move that process along so we can get it bidded out. I will say that the high school roof is being completely redone, and they started right on, you know, June 1st. They've been out there, and that is a lot of square footage out there to have that redone. That's almost $2.5 million worth of work. That, quite frankly, some of it hasn't been done for almost 30 years, so pretty important to get that done.
Any other questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And student services. Do you have an item for
We
information?
have one item for information. We kind of share this with you on a yearly basis, so it's not anything I have to go into detail about, but there is a determination factor for transportation and practicality. And so we put that up there. We've had that for the past couple of years to the learning spectrum. So that just shares with you the document that we use to determine impracticality. And then item for board approval in section B is actually a resolution to pay parents in lieu of that transportation piece, a maximum amount for transportation for the school year. So they kind of go together.
I would entertain a motion to approve the student services item.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. You're a tag team tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, were there any questions?
It happens.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And personnel.
Here we are, going down to the stretch. Certificated licensed staff, one item for information, salary change notice. At this time of the year, we do have lots of items for board approval, employment for the 23-24 school year. So you're going to see a number of different things here, from rescinding of a contract. Jennifer is rescinding that contract to take on another contract that you'll see in a minute. Couple resignations. And then we've hired some new teachers. We're excited about those folks, bringing them on board. And then, as is customary, usually in June, we have our 1, 2, and 3-year contracts come up. So all these are teachers, certificated staff, whose contracts are up. I ran through those quick, but you have those in front of you. We have hired a director of student services. Carmen Griffith is coming to us from Cardington, where she served in that role for a number of years. Spent a long time in special education, so it's just kind of a continuation. She lives in Centerburg, And so she's excited to come on board and did a really nice job of interviewing with us. We have a number of transfers you'll see there, and the transfers, obviously when positions come open in certain buildings, there are people that like to look at those opportunities. So you're seeing a little bit of that relative to some of those transfers. A couple substitute teacher contracts, some supplemental contracts, extended service contracts. There's a few more extended service contracts than normal, and the reason those are there this year is because we're using some of our ESSER monies to send all of our school social workers to some summer training. And so we're paying for that out of those kind of funds that we really think will help us as we move forward. So that's why you're seeing a few more there. Summer school ESY contracts with Susan Manchi in summer school. We've added a few pieces here. We've got some third grade students who have not yet passed the third grade guarantee, probably about 5. And so we try to provide some one-on-one support as best we can to see if we can get that final piece in. And then we'll have to determine what goes next, but we want to make sure we turn over every stone to help them get there. Item K are layperson's pupil activity contracts. And again, those are, you'll see this list continue to grow because a lot of our folks who do extracurriculars are not teachers anymore. And a lot of our teachers are not staying as involved in those extracurricular activities, so we have to look outside. So those items A through K for your approval tonight.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Ward.
Mix it up.
Are there any questions?
Just a comment, unbelievable work in getting our new people and all the hires and interviews. And it's just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I'd like to say I wish we were done.
I know.
I think there still is some movement and we're still having conversations. So next month, we'll be back with a few more, I have a feeling.
Any other questions? Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mrs. Getman.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
You have one layperson pupil activity contract we pull out separately. And that would be Caitlin Getzman as assistant cheer coach. And we always do that because of the Sunshine Law, and we're always going to follow that. And so that's why you see one person in this motion.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. And would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman.
Abstain?
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And we have some classified stuff.
We do. We have no items for information in this section, a number of items for board approval. Jennifer Grassball, who rescinded her substitute teacher contract, is taking on the secretary's contract at the high school. We have a number of 2-year contracts listed there. We have some summer work crews. We actually have hired some students to help us in certain areas this year. We're doing some smart boards across all of the elementary buildings, so there's a lot of work going on. And so needing some of that extra summer work crew and using students, past students or current students, is important. You'll see a few resignations there as well. So those items 1 through 5 for your approval.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Getzman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Were there any questions?
No, just a comment again, to thank Gary once again for your tenure and your time and your diligence and commitment that you've had to our district. I spoke at the other meeting and said, I'm glad you're not leaving our area and continuing to serve plenty of our students. So thank you for your years of service.
And I echo that. Thank you so much.
I think all of us do. We're sad to see you leave.
Yes.
We're happy to have Judy.
We're starting in June. He's got one more meeting to go.
We'll see if there's any no votes.
Yeah.
I will, but let me add, it's been an honor to work for the school district twice. So
That's right.
I'm very,
The
very
beneficiary.
grateful. I'm very, very blessed with it. Mrs. Getzman,
Yes.
Ms. Regola Dye,
Yes.
Mr. Work,
Yes.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Board member comments, and I'm having trouble keeping track of who goes first. Mrs. Getzman, maybe you'd like to go first.
I just made my comment, I guess, more than anything. Thanking Gary. I know our summer crew is working hard, so we appreciate all of the efforts that they are doing to get our schools ready. Graduation was a huge success. Heard lots of positive comments. I have one concern over graduation, which with just the kids standing as they came back after they got their diploma. A couple parents said they stood the whole time and we couldn't see past them. So
Oh, interesting.
just something if they, get their
Instead of
diplomas.
Sit
and
down
just
as a
come-
whole row. I see what you're
Yes,
saying.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So that was the only critique I had heard. Other than that, it was many, many compliments on the whole graduation ceremony. So it was beautiful. And again, we're blessed to have a facility to hold it in. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
And the fact that we had the screens where you could see.
That was a
nice
big
feature.
help. Yes, yes.
Ms. Gulladye?
Thank you. I'd like to offer again congratulations to our graduates and the families of our graduates who helped contribute to their education. Thank you to the people who are here this evening. And big thank yous to our staff for a great year and a beautiful ceremony. And I'd like to thank the community for their support for our Jacket family. With your support, it helps ensure that our children will lead us into the future in a more peaceful and accepting society. And so without your help, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to a great year next year too. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm checking off on it. Mr. Ward?
Well, I too want to echo all the thank yous to the administration, to the schools, but I guess I'd also like to just thank the community for its active support of our school system. This is a really unique community, and I think it's one that we can all be proud. Gary came back twice. So I just want to thank the community for its support of this great school district. So thank you.
Mr. Workman?
And I took it, didn't I?
Not a whole lot to add, but I also thought that graduation went very well. It was such a neat feeling to see the whole facility full. I thought that was great. Heard a lot of positive comments about the way it went. I thought it went very well. Thanks to Mr. Cedar and his staff, just looking at the agenda of all the changing, I can't imagine what that's like, so appreciate that. And Gary, we'll say thanks here, but you'll get the big thanks, I guess, next one. But we certainly appreciated you and the great job that you've done, so thank you.
And I guess I wanted to say something about the awesome ceremony we had and the fact that the students were so well behaved. I was really proud of the kids and the speech and just everything. And Mr. Cedar's speech, everything went very, very well. So I was very happy about that. And I'd like to thank also all of those people that supported the scholarships and all of the awards that the students got. I thought that was really commendable. And the students and their parents, it was so well attended, all the award ceremonies. And I wanted to thank all the teachers and the staff and the administrators because I think we have had a really successful year. And as Mr. Cedar started the year with bumping it up, I think we were able to do that. And I hope our report card will show that this year too. And I guess I'd like to show my appreciation by stating it to the parents in the community for just supporting our kids the way they do. And that's already been mentioned, but I think it should be mentioned twice. And we have so many talented students. All of the programs that we've had over the last month were really a pleasure to go to. It was like something every night, but it was wonderful and very well attended. And we just have a lot of talented kids, so I'm just very proud of it. And I wanted to thank all of the board members for their support and attendance at many of the events. So thank you so much for a good year. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And thank you,
There
Mr.
we go.
Workman. And if you would call the roll.
Ms. Regola Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. And thanks to all of you for coming this evening and for your contributions. We are adjourned.
That's actually.
That is absolutely, my mother always said.